Hey folks, welcome back to the American Presidency Unfiltered, where we dive into untucked, unpolished, and occasionally unbelievable corners of presidential history. I'm your host, Brad Pitzel, part-time presidential scholar, full-time dispenser of snark and facts. Now, when we think of Franklin D. Roosevelt, we think of the New Deal, fireside chats, the only president elected 4 times, and if you're like me, a man who could deliver hope to a nation in economic despair, without breaking a sweat or a cigar holder. But today, we're not talking about FDR's policies, we're talking about his dog, a little Scottish Terrier named Fala. Full name, Murray the Outlaw of Fala Hill. And yes, that name was very real. You don't make up that unless you have 2 brandies and a Scottish uncle that's haunting your dreams. Let me introduce you to the real power behind Roosevelt's throne. Today's episode is brought to you by politicaltradingcards.com. Grab a piece of history with the latest trading cards from the left and the right. politicaltradingcards.com. That's right, Fala, the presidential pup who became a global celebrity. He went everywhere with FDR. Trains, ships, even across the ocean to diplomatic summits with Churchill and Stalin. You could say Fala was the original paws-on-the-ground foreign policy. Now, before you roll your eyes and say, Brad, you're exaggerating again, let's be clear. Fala had his own press secretary. The media followed him. He had fan mail. He even had a film made about him. At one point, he was even more popular than most members of Congress, which, to be fair, isn't a very high bar. Fala was a gift from FDR's cousin, Margaret Suckley, in 1940. From the moment he arrived at the White House, the little black terrier stole everyone's heart, and probably a few sandwiches off the staff lunch table. Roosevelt was instantly smitten. Fala would sit by the president during meals, ride in presidential limousine, and even had his own monogrammed food bowl. When FDR traveled, Fala went along, by train, by ship, by car, and eventually even by air. When FDR visited soldiers during World War II, Fala came. Troops loved seeing the dog. He was a reminder of home, of normalcy, and of the fact that even the president had someone waiting to lick his face when the day was done. But then came the scandal. Oh yes, this isn't just a cute dog story, folks. This is a full-on presidential drama. In 1944, a nasty rumor began to swirl. According to political opponents, mostly Republicans trying desperately to dent FDR's sky-high approval, Roosevelt had accidentally left Fala behind during a trip to the Aleutian Islands in Alaska. And the White House, they claimed, had dispatched a Navy destroyer at the taxpayer expense to retrieve him. Now let's pause for a moment, because if this were true, it would mean that the U.S. Navy, in the middle of World War II, sent a ship not to battle Nazis or defend Pacific Islands, but to save a tiny dog with a Scottish accent and a fan club. FDR, famously unbothered by nonsense, responded with what might be the most savage moment in presidential campaign history. On September 23, 1944, at a dinner for the International Teamsters Union, Roosevelt gave a speech that would become legendary. He said, and I quote, "These Republican leaders have not been content with attacks on me, or my wife, or my sons. No, not content with that. They now include my little dog Fala. Well, of course, I don't resent attacks, and my family doesn't resent attacks, but Fala does resent them. He's not been the same dog since. I'm accustomed to hearing malicious falsehoods about myself, but I think I have a right to resent, to object, to libelous statements about my dog." Mic drop, paw drop, whatever you want to call it, the speech landed. It was smart, it was funny, and it worked. The line was reprinted in newspapers nationwide. Radio commentators couldn't get enough of it, and the American people fell in love with Fala even more. He became a symbol, not just of loyalty, but of Roosevelt's unbeatable ability to spin political attacks into punchlines. Some historians even believe the Fala speech helped sway the 1944 election in FDR's favor. You can argue that a little black dog did more political damage to the GOP that year than Harry Truman ever did. So what happened to Fala after FDR's death? Well, Fala attended the president's funeral in 1945, standing solemnly beside the casket. It was said that he knew his best friend was gone, and for years afterward, he never quite seemed the same. Fala spent his final years at the Roosevelt estate in Hyde Park, New York. He died in 1952 and was buried next to FDR, next to his wife Eleanor and her own cherished dogs. This was on the grounds of the Franklin D. Roosevelt Presidential Library. There's even a statue of FDR in his wheelchair, and right beside him, a cast in bronze little Fala. It's the only presidential memorial in Washington, D.C. that includes a pet. Not a general, not a senator, not a cabinet member, a dog. Fala represents something rare in American politics: pure loyalty, no spin, no scandal, no secret deals, just a fuzzy friend that wants to curl up with the most powerful man in the world, reminding us that even presidents need companionship. He was more than a mascot. He was a political weapon, a morale booster, and a four-legged celebrity who made Roosevelt seem relatable in a time of war and uncertainty. And hey, if they're ever accused of wasting taxpayer money, just remember, you can always blame it on the dog. Thanks for tuning in to the American Presidency Unfiltered. I've been your host, Brad Pitzel. And next time, when someone tells you that politics has gone to the dogs, you can tell them it's been that way since FDR, and we're better off for it. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or throw a bone to your favorite podcast app. Until next time, stay curious, stay historical, and keep it unfiltered.